Hello and welcome to the Game Theory Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Vecenie. Today, Bryce Simon joins me, and we're going to redraft the 2015 NBA draft. We are in the offseason officially now, so we are getting into some past topics, some fun topics, some things that I'm excited to kind of talk about with Bryce over the course of the next month for sure, but we're firmly into that process. So let's go on ahead and hit the music.
They do have a timeout. Decide not to use it. Way downtown.
Bang! Bang! What's this gonna be? Wow! Are you kidding me?
Hello and welcome to the Game Theory Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Vecenie. But if you watch the tape, what you will see completely orchestrated this game. Bryce, what's going on, buddy?
What's up, Sam? How are you doing? You know, whenever you first get into this, NBA offseason is a little scary for content. You're like, what am I going to talk about? What am I going to do? And then whenever you get it more and more into it, you realize, like, just have fun ones, like do redrafts. Yeah. Over on the Pistons podcast, we're bringing on Omari's dad tomorrow night to join us. A couple weeks after that, I'm going to bring on Coach Jones, my old college coach. We're not going to talk about the Pistons at all. We're just going to talk basketball because we're 200 episodes into our Pistons podcast. I think we can, take an episode and have some fun with it. So it used to, my point being, it used to be scary to me, like, what content are we going to come up with? This is, how are we going to keep listeners? And now you realize, no, like, just have fun with it. And people will be here or they'll come back if they're taking an off season of their own.
Yeah, like the question is, at some point, do we get into Eurobasket?
Sure.
I don't know. Like, maybe. We'll see. Depends on how it goes, probably, if some of those games end up being exciting. Yeah, I mean, we'll kind of dive in and talk through a lot of everything that happened here. If basketball happens, and until basketball happens, we will do some fun stuff like this. I mean, really, the only news we got this week entirely, because I mean, I still, I'm sure you guys can tell, sound a little bit congested. I got like a horrendous sinus infection earlier this week. So Andrew and I had recorded a podcast like to have like drafting the 10 best guys that haven't made an all-star. And we decided to run that on Thursday, I'm sorry, in part because like I was just very ill at the end of the day. So we needed to do that. And yeah, I mean, I'm back, I'm recovered, which is good. And I'm excited to do this. I'm excited to kind of talk through stuff. We got the one piece of news, like I said, we got scheduling tidbits, right? We got some things that, ended up kind of being just like little treats in terms of the schedule. So we got the Christmas Day schedule. Cavs, Knicks, Spurs, Thunder, Heat, Rockets, Lakers, Mavericks, Warriors, Timberwolves, Nuggets. And then opening night is Rockets, Thunder, and Warriors, Lakers. So a great group of games that feature two Eastern Conference teams. That was like my immediate reaction. Yeah. Was just, they have absolutely punted the Eastern Conference for scheduling already this year. And part of the thing that I saw people like complaining about Giannis not being on Christmas, and I saw people complaining about like the fact that there just aren't a lot of Eastern Conference teams represented. The key to me, at least, for all of this is that it's really hard to predict what teams are going to be good or like even remotely like good in the East right now. Like I think Orlando, we feel pretty good about, but like the Hawks could realistically finish anywhere from 3rd to 8th, 3rd to 7th, probably. The Bucks, like if Giannis was to get hurt, that is a catastrophic Christmas team to have on. Yeah. Right. If you could say that about a few of these teams, I guess, but like, the Mavericks, for instance, like if Cooper and Anthony Davis are out, like it's a problem, but like you have both Cooper and Anthony Davis as backup with the Mavs. Right. So like, I understand the complaints. I don't think they're unreasonable. I just also think that when you're scheduling these events so far in advance, and these are your like prime time things that you have to like really hit the ratings marks on, you kind of go with the teams that are like a little bit safer and have teams that like are a little bit more exciting. Teams that have upside, but also have like a floor that's a little bit better. And I think a lot of the Eastern Conference teams right now like don't have the floor, maybe is the safest way to put it from a ratings perspective. And I say this as somebody that like worked in ratings for a year, like a decade ago, and like knows what I'm talking about here. Like these folks tend to be like pretty risk averse is a way to put it in a lot of ways. Like for instance, like the Sixers, like you just can't put the Sixers on.
Yeah.
If Joel Embiid like is a total health risk, I don't think. So, Bryce, like when you saw the schedule, did you have any thoughts?
No, I mean, I understand what you're saying there too, because sometimes I have a hard balance of like, okay, I feel like the people I interact with are like diehard fans. And we're always talking about the Atlanta Hawks right now. Like I was texting Schleck the other day about the Hawks because it's just like a team I'm super high on, he's high on. And so I think, our fan base of this podcast probably is like, yeah, we would love to see the Magic and the Hawks. But I don't know if that represents the wider range of fan bases where like Orlando may still, especially if one of those guys is out, they may still have a bottom 5-10 offense in the NBA. Is that what you want your Christmas Day product to be? If Kristaps is hurt and Jalen Johnson is hurt, they don't have a young draft pick on that Atlanta roster that's going to excite. Like, I don't even know that the widespread general NBA fan base understands how good Jalen Johnson is because he was hurt last year. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's not... I understand it. Well, for me, like, I don't care. Like, I just want to watch. My bigger thing is like, okay, how am I going to watch these games? And then the Chiefs all of a sudden are every year on Christmas. And like, that's my selfish dilemma is how do I not get the Chiefs game spoiled while watching all of these NBA games while at my in-laws and my mother-in-law not being pissed at me because I just watch sports all day on Christmas as opposed to being a part of the family. So I have bigger problems, Sam, than who's actually playing.
Yeah, and like a big part of this is the injuries as well. Obviously, Jason Tatum out for the Celtics already. Tyrese Halliburton out for the Pacers already. So that removes two teams that probably would play on Christmas, frankly, if those guys were healthy. So it's just hard. But that was my immediate reaction, was just like the NBA is already being forced to kind of punt the East a little bit outside of the Cavs and Knicks. And as long as you get the Knicks, frankly, like, I know the Cavs fans hate the small market stuff, but, the NBA does try to put bigger markets on Christmas at the end of the day, if they can, in order to try and bring as many people from that marketplace in to watch these games. So I think the key here is just that it's going to be really hard to predict the Eastern Conference. And outside of the Knicks, they're really, really the only like safe ratings bet to me right now in the East. And they're probably the best ratings bet. I am frankly like somewhat stunned that they aren't on opening night. Like I actually kind of genuinely am, but I also do kind of get just wanting to showcase the West at the end of the day. So I get it.
Sure.
Okay. Let's get into 2015 NBA redraft.
Okay.
Let's just dive in and talk about this.
Yep.
Because I put this on the schedule. We're going to do this and we're going to do 2020 at some point as well, right? I put this on the schedule because it was a decade, right? I figured we'd do 10 years out and 5 years out. That was the idea for this summer, right? And we'll continue to do that throughout the next like little while, right? Like next year we'll do 2016 and 2021. Like that's kind of my vision for like off-season redrafts, right? But man, this was something, the 2015 NBA draft class, because I remember this quite well because this was the first class that I covered professionally at CBS.
Okay.
At the time, my memory is that this class was quite good. They're seen as being quite good entering the class. And I think by and large, like we are in the NBA in general, very good at being able to understand like what classes are going to be good and what classes are not going to be good. Like people talk about like, oh, did you guys miss on the 2020 class or whatever? Not really. No, like class has kind of turned out to be a mess outside of Halliburton and Anthony Edwards and LaMelo Ball potentially. Like those three guys, and then Maxey as well, obviously. But again, like I say, this is somebody that had Maxey in the. We'll talk about 2020 later in the offseason, but like I had Maxey in the lottery, and that really there are 4 All-Stars, and I don't know if we're getting more than 4 All-Stars in that class. It's kind of the reality. In 2015, we also got 4 All-Stars, and that's it. And I don't think anybody else from 2015 is coming up being hitting that level.
And 2 of those only made 1 All-Star. Like whenever we say we have
Correct.
4 All-Stars, when you tier this out, to me, it'll be interesting to talk with you. There is a clear 2 guys above everybody else. And then you get into a little bit more of a conversation. I actually have another tier break after that. But, of 4 All-Stars, 2 of them only made it a single time, which is crazy. And also, as I was going through this, it was funny. Jokic was actually on the all-rookie team for this season because he didn't play his first year. I did not remember that about Jokic.
Yeah.
So he was drafted in 2014, but he was on the 2015 first team all-rookie, which was kind of fun.
Correct. Yeah, he stayed in Mega for a year.
Yeah, okay.
So the 2013 draft, I think, is still a little bit worse than this one, even though it has Giannis. Giannis, Victor Oladipo, and Rudy Gobert are the only All-Stars in that class. This one does at least have 4, which is good. That class also has guys like CJ McCollum, Steven Adams, a few other guys that have emerged.
KCP,
like Otto Porter had like a
Dennis
real run.
Schroeder.
KCP. Yep, that's a great names, right? 2015 gets dire like kind of quickly in terms of guys that like turned into bench players for the most part. Like I would argue that there are like 6 or 7 like starter quality guys in this class. Like
I would agree. Yep, I think that's right.
It's pretty rough.
Yeah.
And I think that what happened with this class, so I have a theory on this, I guess. I think that what happened with this class is that it was right at the cutting edge of what we now consider like modern, analytically inclined basketball.
Sure.
And like the prior generation. So you look at some of the names in this class, right? Jahlil Okafor is obviously the one that people will point to. Okafor, was a post big that had like way more than what people remember. Like he could actually like lead the break and like dribble and could create like from the mid post and like could reject ball screens and like be able to get to the rim. Like he was like a way more skilled player. He's just horrendous on defense. I think that in general, and this goes for NBA scouts as well as, not just like us on the public side. I think that scouts have gotten way better at evaluating defense over the course of the last decade. So like I come at this with like an interesting perspective, I guess, right? Because this was my first draft class, right? And I think I had all these kind of ideas going in to like doing this job. And I think some of my ideas have played out, very positively. Some of them have played out negatively, this, that, and the other thing. Right. But I've kind of seen the growth in the evolution in a really interesting way because I came in like during this class. And I think the biggest thing that I noticed from a scouting perspective now is just that people understand defense. Even on like the NBA scouting side, people understand defense drastically better and understand what translates defensively drastically better than what they did 10 years ago. And I think that is probably like the biggest reason that this class kind of looks the way it does. in terms of prospects. Like the second biggest, the biggest reason is there's just not a lot of talent in this draft, it turns out. But there was especially not a lot of defensive talent in this class. Defensively, this class is like very poor. And we'll talk about that. Like guys like, you know, Rashawn Holmes, Christian Wood, Montrezl Harrell, Cam Payne, Trey Lyles, like Terry Rozier. I mean, like there are so many names here that like just were not in any way defensively inclined, right? But ended up sticking in the NBA for one reason or another.
Yeah.
I think that that's probably my biggest takeaway from doing this project is that we've gotten way better at evaluating defense.
Yeah. I mean, these are the ones where I found myself when you sent this to me, Sam, like a little sad that I was so late to the NBA draft game and really doing this NBA stuff. And like when we do the 2020 draft, that one will be a lot of fun for me because that was the first one. There were 3 Pistons selected in that draft. But it was like the first year I started doing this stuff, and it was mostly a Pistons perspective, but I really started watching NBA games. And I didn't scout that class, but, you know, I've watched all of those players throughout the entirety of their NBA careers. I don't remember early years Karl Anthony Towns as much. And I realize, like, based on my age, I should, but I don't. That's probably one thing people don't realize about me is during COVID is when I really got into the NBA in a real serious level. And over the last 2 years with you, an even more serious level, when I was coaching high school basketball and doing all of that, I just wasn't, I was very, very, very casual. So I haven't followed the early parts of some of these guys' career. And I think that will make it interesting as we draft through it, the different perspectives of you having evaluated them and followed their entire careers, where a guy like Norm Powell, I'm really only familiar with what we've seen the last few years where he's been incredible. And if I value Norm Powell more than you, or if we still value him the same, or someone like Kelly Oubre, who I'm familiar with across the board because I watched him in college because he happened to go to a college that I was watching religiously, compared to any one of these other players. So it'll be very differing perspectives from you and from me, and it'll be interesting how that plays out as we draft and what our big boards look like.
Yeah, I think that's right. I'm like trying to run through CBS right now and the archives to see if I can find my final 2015 rankings.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think it would be kind of fun just to look at. Again, like these things are so, you know, ever changing, right? That it's no surprise that I'm sure that they look like a fucking catastrophe. And I was, God, I was 25, I guess, when I was doing those, which, you know, probably means that they look catastrophic as it is. I mean, that's probably going to be the reality. Did anything else stand out to you beyond like the defensive side of things when we did this?
So I had one other thing, and this is because it's come up recently where we've had to be like, hey, you know, whoever the rookie of the year is still doesn't mean that's going to be the best player in the class. Or we've encouraged people to go back and look at all rookie teams and how they are not necessarily an indicator of future of successful careers in the NBA. And so I'll quickly, and this will allow people to kind of get familiar with names we're going to talk about today. Cat, Booker, Porzingis, Okafor, and then Jokic from the 2014 draft for first team. Justice Winslow, D'Angelo Russell, Emmanuel Mudiay, Miles Turner, and Willie Cauley-Stein were second team. And so it just is like, was another one of, okay, like some of these guys are going to be taken very early. Some of these guys, that will be the last time we say their name on the podcast. And so like all rookie team is not necessarily a direct correlation or indicator or whatever of NBA career success. And also, I think another thing that stood out to me was the amount of size that was drafted, like that was represented on those all rookie teams, right? Cat, Porzingis, Jokic, Okafor, Turner, and Willie Cauley-Stein, all centers. And then even you like Cauley-Stein was 6th, Frank Kaminsky was 9th, Turner was 11th. This was after Cat, Okafor, Porzingis were 3 of the first 4. So just the size that was drafted in the top 11. And then just all of the misses as you got into the middle portion of the first round on, I guess, wing forwards that, again, it would be interesting. Like, did they just misevaluate them? It's just a lot of names here. Rashad Vaughn, Sam Decker, Justin Anderson, Rondé Hollis Jefferson, like just a bunch of wing type players that just did not pan out nearly to the level of a first round pick. And even higher, Sam, right? Like Justice Winslow, Stanley Johnson, Mario Hazonia, like those guys were all top 8 picks.
Yeah, I mean, Emmanuel Mudiay as well, like here. So I had Mudiay at 3 that year, just I think betting on like a creation bet. The other thing that I would say stood out to me is that Mudiay, Hazonia, honestly, Porzingis is an example in the other direction. But like, I think that NBA folks probably hadn't, and I say myself included in this, probably had not recognized how important production in Europe is if you're playing in Europe. It's just very rare to find a player that is, a good NBA player that was not productive in Europe if they played in Europe pre-draft, right? Like it's just exceedingly difficult to find those players. So things I got wrong here. Emmanuel Mudiay at 3. I mean, everyone had Okafor 2 or 3, so that's fine with me. The Mudiay at 3 looks clearly wrong. Porzingis at 5 is good because Porzingis, I think, was like a little bit lower for some people, honestly. He goes 4. I mean, Winslow went right around there. Cauley Stein went right around there. Miles Turner went right around there. Booker went right around there. Bobby Portis, a little bit higher than where he went. That looks pretty good. Portis went 22nd. Having him 11th is good.
And he's going to be he's going to get drafted above that, I think, today.
For sure.
So can I ask real quick, maybe this is bearing, why? So Booker looks consistently outside the top 10. What were the questions? Like that's what I'm curious.
Play a lot was the issue. Like we just didn't know what he was kind of the thing. Like he played like a very specified role with Kentucky where like he was more of a spacer on that like team that, had 2 separate lineups, right? Like the 2015 tournament is still like one of the most fun Final Four experiences I've ever had. Cause that was like Wisconsin with like Sam Decker and
Kaminsky,
Kaminsky and like, shout out Ben Brust, radio legend now over in Wisconsin. Like those guys were on that team. And then you had, I'm just trying to think off the top of my head. The other one was Duke, obviously, because they win the title with Okafor and Tyus Jones and all those guys and Justice Winslow. And then it's the Kentucky team that was unbeaten with like Cat and those guys as well. So it was like a crazy, crazy Final Four. And that's why I think people thought that this draft was going to be like incredibly good and it ended up being incredibly poor, bizarrely. But yeah, just kind of looking through here. I mean, like Jaren Grant, probably too high. Like Kevon Looney at 18, that's a good ranking.
Yeah.
He goes 30 because of like a hip injury pre-draft. Tyus Jones at 17 is a good ranking. He goes, 24? Yeah, I feel okay. I feel better about this than what I thought I would, to be honest with you. Harrell at 24, he went in the second round. Rozier probably too low. Rashad Vaughn, 12 spots lower than where he went. Norman Powell, like 15 spots higher than where he went. Christian Wood, like 20 spots higher. I feel okay with this, honestly. Looking back, this seems okay to me. I missed at the top. I think that's probably where I've gotten best as an evaluator is I care more about the guys at the top now, I think, than what I used to. I think I used to be better probably at identifying like the mid-tier guys, but now I think I've gotten better at like honing in on like the important decisions at the top, maybe is the way to put it.
Yeah, no, that doesn't seem so bad. Especially like I say, some of the names we're eventually going to have to get to with this class. It sounded like was solid. So
yeah, and like I said to Bryce in the text, like we're only going to go to 20 here, guys, because they're just like I have Justice Winslow at 22.
Yeah,
like I have Mario Hazonia in the top 25.
Mm-hmm.
Like Mario's had a long, good like NBA career. Like he's at least something, you know what I mean? And some of these guys just like turned out to not even be like great professional players.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. Before we get into the redraft, we got to shout out our friends over at Square. Square is a new sponsor to the show, and we absolutely love them already. Support for today's episode comes from Square, your all-in-one business partner, making your day-to-day easier. From point-of-sale systems and payments to inventory and customer tools, Square makes everything together, or Square brings everything together in one simple platform so you can stay organized, sell anywhere, and keep things moving. Whether you're running a cafe, salon, boutique, or something entirely your own, Square gives you the flexibility to grow at your own pace and even set up an online store in just a few clicks. Here in Melbourne, it is a cafe town, and just about every single cafe I go to seems to use Square in order to get its business done. It's incredibly easy. You just tap your card and keep it moving. It makes any sale just painless and simple from a customer perspective. Square is so easy to use as well for businesses as well. It's flexible for any kind of business, be it a farmer's market, like some of the beautiful ones that you'll find here, or a pop-up art gallery. Square adjusts to what you need as a business. You can sell in person or online from one location or several. It allows all major credit cards or payment methods like Apple Pay. So checkout is fast and easy. Square keeps up so you don't have to slow down. Get everything you need to run and grow your business without any long-term commitments. And why wait? Right now, you can get up to $200 off Square hardware at square.com/go/game theory. That's square.com/go/game theory. SQUARE.com/GO/game theory. Run your business smarter with Square. Get started today. Okay, Bryce, I am ready. I am ready to do this. Let's I will give you the first pick.
Okay.
Here. And then we'll just go back and forth.
To me, it easily came down to two different guys right here. I'll be honest, when I first saw the names, I think I would have leaned one direction, and I'm gonna go the other way. Karl-Anthony Towns has made one more All-Star game. Karl-Anthony Towns has made one more All-NBA team than Devin Booker. Karl-Anthony Towns was Rookie of the Year. And so I think I will go Karl-Anthony Towns here. I will very much listen to Devin Booker. I'm interested to see if that would have been your selection. Obviously, Devin maybe had the best individual season. Devin was a number 4 in MVP voting in one of his seasons. Yeah. So I would hear out like maybe Devin's peak season was better than any peak Cat season. But then I started going, okay, if I had to take one of these two in a draft, the stretch big would probably win out to me in a race that I think is fairly close between the two. I'll listen to Devin Booker 100%, Sam.
Yeah, I had Booker here pretty clearly at one. But your case is better than what I thought, just to be honest with you. Booker having like the first team All-NBA and being, the second best player on a team that made the finals ended up kind of like pushing it above for me. And also like Cat's defense at a premium defensive position versus Booker, actually kind of having gotten like way better on defense and over the course of his career. I think Booker has like pretty clearly peaked a bit higher than Cat. Having said that, like the first, 3 years, I would argue, like there were questions about Booker, whereas Cat like kind of hit the ground running in a real way that allowed a team that drafted him to be, successful in a way that allowed it. I'm going to take Booker at 2, so we can just kind of compare and contrast these guys as we go. The Cat argument is interesting. So just kind of thinking back to the draft a little bit, right? So Karl-Anthony Towns coming into the NBA, again, was like a piece of this like platoon system at Kentucky where like he basically only played like 20 minutes a night and averaged 10 points and 7 rebounds, and he blocked shots like crazy. Like I thought, many scouts thought that Towns was going to be like a monster defender in the NBA, that like maybe he would kind of go and, continue to thin out and add some mobility and continue to do things right. But I really think that just never happened. And I think the signs were always kind of there with Towns too. Just kind of thinking through it, like his foul rate was always astronomical in college. And some people pointed it to the idea of, oh, he's platooning. He can foul. He can afford to foul in the way that like other bigs can't, because he's, playing 21 minutes a night versus Okafor, who has to play 32 minutes a night or whatever it was. Like that's a real thing. And it just never bore out. Like with Booker like very quickly developed into a monster scorer.
Yeah.
In the NBA in a way that I certainly did not see him averaging 22 points per game as a 20-year-old in the NBA. Booker ended up finishing 4th in Rookie of the Year. Towns, if I remember correctly, ended up winning Rookie of the Year, right? Like these guys were great from the jump and kind of figured it out. Yeah, I mean, I get going with Towns based off of Towns' track record of being a great player. Like Towns made 3rd team All-NBA in his 3rd season, was an All-Star in his 4th year, averaged 25 points per game in both his 5th and 6th year. He just played 85 total games in those years. Then in the next season, he was healthy. He made 3rd team All-NBA. Then, missed 50 games again in 2023, and then has been an all-star the last 2 years and made All-NBA again this year, right? So like if you want the longer track record, I can see an argument for Towns. I just think that Booker's ceiling in peak, remains higher than Towns. But I'll say this too, like Towns had a better year than Booker did last year as well. Like Booker was not great.
I think there's some recency bias with mine, and that's why I think I struggle with this a little bit, because I try to navigate roster construction with career, with recency. The other thing to like counter me taking Cat is if you look at their playoff numbers, Booker's are just like definitely better. You like when you look at regular season stuff, it's like, so like for a career, Booker's 24, 4, and 5. Cat is 23, 11, and 3. Minutes played is relatively the same. Games played is actually not that far off. And those may include, those can include the playoffs. But when you look at the playoffs, like Booker has just been a monster in playoffs.
Booker's playoff run is insane. He's a 28.5 rebound, 5 assist guy while shooting 49, 39, 90 in the playoffs. Like he's been an absolute assassin in the playoffs. That is ultimately kind of, again, like to the point of him being like a guy that can like lead, kind of let you run in the playoffs. That was a big reason why I had him at 1, pretty clearly.
That is probably, I think I'm probably wrong. I think Booker probably should be number 1. I'll stay with it because I do think it's like, I think these two are in a tier by themselves, to be clear. Like I definitely had them in their own tier.
Because they're in a tier by themselves, I will let you switch if you want to switch.
No, it's okay. I'll take it. Shout out GMAC, Karl Anthony Towns. I just, the ceiling of Booker and what he's done in the playoffs, you know me, Sam. This is why this draft is kind of fun for me, is there are some floor spacing bigs in this draft. So I'm like, this is awesome. Like, this is a lot of fun. Cat's defense probably is bad enough that I should have just taken Booker, even though I love me a floor spacing big man. So I will take the L on probably being wrong here, even though I don't think that's an indictment that like Cat should. It still would have been a conversation. Like even if I would have taken Booker, I think it was still a conversation. So
these are clearly the two guys. Like
Correct.
There is a tier break after this, and honestly, I think there's a tier break after 3 and 4.
Oh, I have 2 guys and then another tier break. 100%.
Yeah, like totally. So like this is why that intersection of like kind of what I talked about in terms of modern basketball and like, the past era of basketball is so interesting, because like the next two guys, here are, spacing bigs, obviously, and can really shoot it and are good defenders. just don't have the creation that
Yeah.
the two guys at the top do, right? But then like you look through the rest of the draft, like again, like you have these guys like Trey Lyles, Montrezl Harrell,
Yeah.
Rashawn Holmes, Christian Wood. Like some of these guys are just like flat out outside of the NBA now, despite the fact that I think if they were drafted in 2005, or maybe let's say 2010, 5 years earlier, not 10 years earlier, they're drafted 5 years earlier. They're definitely still in the NBA a decade later. Like no questions asked. Like Montrezl Harrell is not in the NBL right now if he was drafted in 2010 as opposed to 2015. It's so interesting to me to look at this.
Harrell's a fun, because when we get, I didn't respect Harrell enough, and that made me struggle with. I'm interested to see if you are higher on him or if I am higher on him, because when I got into like his peak 4-year seasons, it's like, holy cow, like there's some interesting stuff here when you compare it to other guys who maybe I think based off name you would think were better, but don't have anywhere close to some of the numbers. And I mean, like, like the dude won 6th Man of the Year and was in the running for in some capacity 4 straight years, Sam. That's a hell of a 4-year run compared to what some of these other guys have done. Even though as we look at Montrezl Harrell now, it's like, this dude, like you just said, doesn't even fit the NBA now 10 years later. It's such a fun little, it's what makes basketball great. Sports great in general, but yes. So
this draft class really is like at the vanguard of like the evolution of the game, like in a large way. Okay. You're up at number 3.
So this was hard for me
to see what you did.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is Kristaps and Miles Turner. Like, I think people have probably figured that out. I'm going to go with Kristaps because I just think when healthy, Kristaps is a better player than Miles Turner. I mean,
for what it's worth, I also have Kristaps at 3.
Yeah. And this is, people know that have listened to this podcast. Like, I love Miles Turner. We've talked about him a lot recently. Miles Turner, if you look at totals numbers, like is a little more because he's played 140 more games than Kristaps. But when you look at like Kristaps' career averaging 28, 2 assists, the 3-point percentage, all of that, which Turner's right there with him. I just think sometimes we forget how good Kristaps is because of the injuries, and it's a fair factor. Like it truly is. I would go ahead and take, that and take the 500 regular season games I'll get from Kristaps over this time.
So here's the other thing with Kristaps, right? I think that he peaked higher both as like a potential star player, like making the All-Star game, right? In his 3rd season in New York before the knee injury. And like, I thought Kristaps was like straight up on like a Hall of Fame trajectory in his 3rd year. Like it looked like that's where this was going for him. And then injures the knee, has never really gotten back the mobility that he had when he was younger. Like he had some like pretty real juice in terms of like movement ability, even at 7'3" when he was 20, 21 years old. Like he could really do some stuff. That 3rd year in New York was like pretty freaking awesome. Like really, really awesome. Like blocked 2.5 shots a game, averaged 23 points a game, shot 44, 40, 80, basically. Has never been like a monster rebounder, but is good enough to like make it work, right? Then like weirdly, do you know what the season is where I think he was actually like kind of the best? I kind of think that like his best career year, weirdly, I think was the Washington year.
22-23. That year?
Yeah. Where he finally like stayed healthy and like got into a real rhythm and like played 65 games and was better on the interior than really he'd ever been prior. He was a monster shooter. Like they were having him shoot from like freaking like 30 feet if he wanted to. And they kind of weaponized him in that way. I thought he was really good on defense. And then the Boston like playoffs year, I would even argue like he probably peaked maybe a little bit higher in the first half of that year. And then again, kind of became, got injured and, got banged up and like kind of struggled a little bit throughout that playoff run. But man, he was like Kristaps at his ceiling is something, man, like where he can play in that like mid post area and shoot over the top of switches. He can really comfortably, pick and pop. The difference between Kristaps and Miles Turner is that I think Miles is a better defender, and we'll talk about that when we get to Miles here in a second.
Sure.
But Kristaps gets guarded from the 3-point line. Miles Turner kind of doesn't.
Yeah.
Like, teams are generally pretty okay with leaving Miles Turner open to shoot, even though Miles Turner like does generally make his threes. Like, it wouldn't stun me if Miles Turner's 3-point percentage is higher than Kristaps. So this is a question here. Who do you think has a higher 3-point percentage, Miles Turner or Kristaps?
I had looked at it. I think Kristaps is more by like 0.04. Like I only know that because I looked at it earlier. But
yeah, it's like half of a percentage point better in favor of Kristaps. But Kristaps is able to get it off quickly and at volume and from like real range in trailer situations to where you just have to guard him out there. If you don't, like, he's going to fire and he's probably going to make it, especially over the last 3 years, I would argue. He had a couple of years in the wilderness there where like it was a little bit rough in Dallas. And I think that kind of like wore on people a little bit and made people kind of forget. But man, I think that Kristaps is just generally peaked higher than Turner. And is like a real rim protector. Like, you have to play him and drop. He does not have flexibility defensively that Turner does in some respects. You do have to play Turner and drop, but like, he's able to play in more of a catch drop. Like, he can go up to the level a little bit more consistently. Porzingis is like just straight up a drop defender, which means that you're going to have some holes that teams can exploit. But I think the shooting is just a little bit more valuable. And even like the shot creation is just a little bit more valuable from Kristaps.
Well, I mean, when you talk, the minutes thing is a real play, and I know the defense, like Turner has like, a top 5 DPOY and a top, and a ninth, a block, couple block championships to his name. I still think Kristaps is a pretty impactful defender when he's healthy, but when you Turner has played 140 more games than Kristaps, and Kristaps still has 800 more points than him. Like, Kristaps is just, he's just a bigger offensive threat. The 3-point shooting is a bigger threat. And then, like you said, when you put him in ball screen situations and you want to switch, he's going to post you up at the elbow, the mid post, whatever, and then shoot over you. And you can, run offense through him in that way. Not that either of these guys are like great passers or anything. But yeah, I think Kristaps, just the ceiling of still being an impactful defender when he's healthy and his size, and then just the offensive upside of him gave me a slight edge. But I want to emphasize, I very much have like, these two were definitely below Booker and Cat, and then these two are very much above the next group of guys.
I agree. Okay. So I'm going to take Turner at 4. I would argue that from like a 5-year stretch there, really like his 4th year until probably 2023, Turner was probably a top 10 defender in the NBA, like something in that ballpark. Missed a lot of time in that window, like would consistently miss somewhere between 20 and 35 games. But when he was on the court, was just super impactful because he could really move back then. Like, now he's just not quite as mobile as what he used to be. And I think that hinders him. I thought this year defensively was probably a pretty real drop off from him comparatively to what we'd seen previously. But from like 2019 until 2023, he would pretty realistically be in my, top 10 defenders of that 5-year window, I think.
So this is where it's interesting for me, because this window we're talking about is a window that I was speaking about earlier, where like I wasn't this NBA basketball fiend. And so I don't know that I respected his defensive arc, his ceiling of 5 years the way I should. The last 5 years I've seen him, I respected, whatever. But that 5 years, I think, where he was really at the prime of his game, I wasn't watching games night in, night out of all 30 teams and have these, diligent notes and all of that. And maybe that's where I shortchanged Turner just a little bit when we're talking about careers as a whole, like we're doing for this.
Yeah, 2019 finished 12th in all defense, but 5th in defensive player of the year. If you guys remember, man, my voice is starting to go a little bit. If you guys remember, the big thing back then was that you only got 2 centers on all defense teams.
Oh, yeah. It was different. Yeah,
it was not positionless.
Yep.
Which meant that some of the best center defenders in the league did not make all defense. Like you had to be one of the two. If you were a pure position locked center, you had to be better than like Anthony Davis, than, you know, the guys that won, like Rudy Gobert won a bunch of defense player of the year in that window. Like you had to be better than those guys. You had to hope those guys got hurt. And those guys just like ate up all defense berths basically in that time. And I think because of that, and I'm really glad that we do it the way we do it now, I think a lot of centers ended up kind of getting the short end because they just didn't have a chance to make those all defense teams, right? So like looking back, 2019, Gobert and Embiid. Embiid was like a monster defender then. Anthony Davis and Bam Adebayo and Brook Lopez. Brook Lopez was like perfect defensively within that scheme, right? Rudy Gobert and Bam Adebayo and Joel Embiid. Bam was, lucky. Bam played the 4 a little bit for the Heat and was able to slide up to the forward position. But Miles Turner is a position locked center, so like he didn't have that ability. Like Rob Williams as well. Like they let Rob Williams slide to the forward position. Like Rob Williams had one good defensive year and was able to snake all defense because he had forward position eligibility because sometimes the Celtics would play 2 centers. The Pacers never played 2 centers with Miles because they didn't have to. Like he was able to space the court and protect the rim. I actually think that probably the fact that he was able to space the court in the way that he was and protect the rim probably meant that he never played the 4 at the end of the day.
And screwed him out of 2 all defensive teams. So
yeah,
that's a really good point. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of funny looking back. But yeah, I think Miles is probably one of the 10 best defenders in the league during that window for sure. Obviously a great shooter, has been just really like markedly consistent, obviously throughout his career, something in the ballpark of 13 to 18 points per game, will consistently make, somewhere between 34 and 39% from 3, depending on the year, will finish generally on the interior in a reasonable way, although he's like not amazing at it necessarily. And rebounds at a level probably a little bit below average for the center position, but you can make it work, right? And they figured out a way to make it work with Siakam particularly, I think. So yeah, Miles Turner very clearly 4 for me. Impact on winning is just massive, in my opinion.
Yep, I agree.
Okay, you are up at number 5.
This is where it gets fun. So I'm struggling here. We have 1 All-Star left. And I don't know if I want to go with the All-Star. So here's the 2 guys. So obviously D'Angelo Russell is the final All-Star. And when you look at D'Lo, Sam, he's 3rd in this class in minutes played. He's 3rd in points, and he's 1st in assists is D'Lo in this class. So like based on that, I should just take him here, right? Like but like I love Norm Powell, and I think Norm Powell's impactful. And then we get into some other guys. So is there somebody else who else is in your tier here? Like in consideration?
These are the clear 2.
So I have a tier break. I have Norm Powell and D'Angelo Russell here. And what I'm struggling is their career arcs are vastly different. If you look at Norm Powell, it's 5 points a game, 8, 5, 8, wins an NBA championship in here somewhere. And then now it's 19, 19, 20, 22, where D'Lo's is kind of the other way. And then the last few years, not as much. So I feel like D'Lo fans are going to scream at me. But I'm going to take NBA champ and 2-time 4th finisher and 6th man of the year, Norm Powell.
So I as much as I love Norman Powell, I did have D'Lo here.
I think it's fair.
I think people understand that I'm not a massive D'Angelo Russell fan. I say this having gone to Ohio State, wearing an Ohio State hat right now. I very much enjoyed the D'Angelo Russell experience in Columbus. I don't love the style of play that D'Angelo Russell brings to the table. It's not my favorite. It's a lot of dribbling. It's a lot of, pounding the air out of the ball a little bit. And I think that has an adverse impact on winning basketball a lot of the time and doesn't defend, at the level that I think is required. Norm Powell has had like a really interesting career arc where he was, totally a bench player early on in Toronto, kind of like morphed into a starter there for a couple of years in Toronto, and then went to Portland for that like year sort of, and then got traded to the Clippers and like really found a home with the Clippers. And I would argue like really, that it's hard because Powell's first 4 years like really kind of underrates what his value has been.
Agreed.
But I still think it's
so. Let me ask you that.
I think it's Russell.
I think that's probably fair. Again, like I'm aware that what I've watched Norm Powell do over the last 5 years probably skews my draft or my pick here whenever we get to these two guys. You will answer this better than me, because again, when D'Angelo was an all-star in 18-19, I'm not taking notes and watching religiously. How much better was that season from D'Angelo Russell, essentially his peak season, than 21, 22, well, not that year, excuse me, then like this year with Norm Powell, where he averaged 22 a game for a Clippers team that was pretty good? Like, how much better was D'Lo's peak than Norm Powell's peak?
So like, it's hard because D'Angelo was like the driving force of a real playoff team.
Yeah, sure.
That like had a winning record. And like that team was really fun. Like that first Kenny Atkinson, like Brooklyn team where, they were just like, it was him and like Spencer Dinwiddie, and then LeVert would come off the bench, and like, I think Spencer would like come off the bench too a little bit, and they'd start like Jarrett Allen. I think that like was one of Jarrett's first years, if memory serves, maybe his second or third year. And like Joe Harris was sniping from three. Like it was just like a really, really, really fun team to watch. And D'Angelo was kind of the driving force of it, whereas Norm was like probably the third guy on the Clippers team this year, right? So
that's fair.
Substantially better, I would say. Like it was substantially better, I would argue.
The other thing I looked at was like D'Angelo started 536 games in his career. Norm Powell's only started 259. Like, that's where it's.
So here's the more interesting argument to me, I guess. Like, can you win at the highest levels with D'Angelo Russell playing the way that D'Angelo Russell does?
So this is right. Yeah.
Right. Like that's really the question. So that team that I just talked about that was really fun and enjoyable, right? They got gentlemen swept by the Sixers in the playoffs in 2019, right? Norm Powell, like, you can win games at the highest level, I think, with Norm Powell playing the way Norm Powell does, because he can come off the bench and be like a microwave scorer. And, like, I guess Russell can do that, but we haven't seen it yet.
So I think that's where it was hard. It was like, okay, what is my team context? And I wonder if subconsciously I was going like, I have my star already on the team. What kind of players would I rather have around that player? You know what I mean? Like if I already have player X that is my number one face of the franchise, because I mean, Booker's probably the only argument for that. And we're going to see that play out. And I guess we have seen that play out. But I think that's where I ended up with these guys is like, do I want to draft D'Angelo to be my number 2 and think he's going to accept and thrive in that? Or do I want to draft Norman Powell to be my number 3/6 man and know that he'll thrive in that role? And so like,
so this is a fair point too. Like Russell was asked to be a lead guard.
And we yell all the time about weighing that in a certain way, right? Like giving some respect to that.
Yes and no. So Russell, it's hard. I'm taking Russell at 6, by the way. So we'll talk about this as we go. So Russell is asked to be a lead guard, but because D'Angelo has like no burst whatsoever, basically he was a guy that came in with very little burst and then had the knee injury and it like really sapped what he had athletically. So because he doesn't have that burst, I think he often has to really dominate the ball in a way that can be tricky toward getting teammates involved, and I think can actually be a little bit easier for defenses to be able to slow down if the game is not on his terms. The game basically has to be on D'Angelo's terms, I think, is the thing. And it's always been that way, sort of. Like, I might even argue that his best year might have been in Minnesota during that like 46 and 36 year, like Finch's first year, where like he played with, Ant, and then I think it was like Ant's second year, if memory serves right. Like that says something to me. I think it was the second year, and it was Towns there. And like the way that they played was they let D'Angelo be like the low man defensively, kind of, and that was easier on him defensively, and he could just like call out coverages because he's really smart and cerebral on the court. And it actually engaged him a little bit more defensively, and it took away his biggest flaw, which is often like getting through screens defensively as well. Like I actually might argue that that's kind of his ceiling, but like he really tailed off that year too, if the memory serves as well. So yeah, it's, to me, yes, he is asked to be a lead guard and Norm is not. But again, like I don't know if you can win that way either. And like this wouldn't even be a competition if D'Angelo stayed healthy. And D'Angelo unfortunately just like dealt with a lot of knee injuries. And like, if I remember, he's like had some like tendonitis issues from time to time that is like kind of really sapped his explosiveness throughout the years. But it's a hard conversation with D'Angelo because I really enjoy watching him play.
Yeah.
When he's on, but when he's not on and when he's not scoring effectively, it's really hard to watch because it's just a lot of dribbling and very difficult. Like his vision is insane. We probably haven't talked enough about the passing. Like he is a real like dime thrower. I still remember it was like early 2015 at Ohio State. He threw this transition pass like between three guys where it was like live dribble left hand, and he cut it. He threw it like a cutter in baseball, and he put English on the ball, and the ball spun outside, like not like inside with English, but outside with English, and he hit his guy right in stride defensively or toward the rim. It was just like, oh my God, like what in the world is this? Like it was unbelievable. Like that's the stuff that Norm can't do. But like when Norm was younger, Norm was like he was an impact defender. Like he got on the court a lot of the time, like because he was like athletic and a monster defensively. And the way he's improved his game has become a monster shooter. Like when Norm was early at UCLA, like you definitely don't remember this.
No.
I was there is why. Like I literally like, was at UCLA regularly because I lived in LA. But like Norm like could not really shoot when he was like a sophomore and junior. Like I think he was like a sub 30 3-point % guy. Well, when he was a sophomore and junior at
Sam,
UCLA.
He was 31% for his career at UCLA.
Yeah. So like really could not shoot, and now he's become a total sniper from three. The way their careers are going, it would not stun me if we look up and look like Norm was almost an all-star in the West this year. Yeah. And like, that's better than D'Angelo making the all-star game in the East. You could maybe argue too, but like it's close between these two. You went Norm at 5. I think I'd have gone Russell at 5, but like, I totally understand this pick.
Yeah.
I love Norm Powell. I've always loved that dude. Again, I had him way higher than everybody else in that draft. I think we talked about it. I had him at like 33 in that class. Would have like very clearly taken him, in the early second round. I loved that dude. And like the way he's improved, the way that he has battled and scratched and clawed for his career. These are like my favorite guys. So I have no problem with you taking Norm at 5.
Yeah, Norm, for what it's worth, for people who don't know, was 46. Got taken 46 in this draft. D'Lo obviously went 2, but Norm at 46. So those were my tiers. Like I had Cat and Booker, Porzingis and Turner, Powell and Russell, and then I have a group of like 6, 7 guys coming up now that I think will be a lot of fun to hash through.
And I would argue that we are now into like borderline starters, probably better off as sixth men.
Agreed. No, this is, and here's what's funny, Sam. What I have 6 guys in this. 5 of the 6, like the biggest point I have in some capacity is where they ended on 6 men of the year voting. Like it's like Rozier, Jones, Bobby Porter, like and Looney is here because he's a 3-time champ playing in a very, very specific role, even though it was as a starter.
This is going to be amazing because I think my board looks way different than your board.
Oh, interesting. Love it. Who are you going to go with?
So you're up because I took Russell at 6.
Yeah. So
go ahead.
So I struggle here. So I've moved this around since we've started recording. So I'll talk through it, so I'm struggling with Terry Rozier. And here's why, Sam. Terry Rozier is 3rd in the class in games. Terry Rozier is 5th in points in this class. Terry Rozier is 4th in assists. There's a couple of these other guys that I think, like, when you look at resumes, I think maybe more impressive. We've like already mentioned the Montrezl Harrell one. Also, and again, this will be interesting to see, like, whenever I say this, if you push back on it, Rozier also like had a stretch in his career. I'm pulling up now, like when he was in Charlotte of 4 straight years averaging 20 a game. But yeah. I'm going to go Rozier here. I'm interested to see if you push back and who you would have went. Because like there's 10th place in 6 man of the year, but just the overall counting stats and that 4-year stretch, I guess, is what does it for me here.
I have Rozier 11th.
Okay, I figured he was
amazing.
Yeah, a little lower.
I have Rozier 11th. I totally get this, like from a peak perspective.
Yeah.
The Charlotte years are better than anybody's peak that I'm about to take.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like for a 4-year stretch between 3.5 years in Charlotte and then the half year in Miami, 2020 to 2024. Rozier played 330 games. So this would be a 5-year stretch. I'm sorry. 5-year stretch. He averaged 19.7 points, 4.7 assists, 4.3 rebounds, 43.5 from the field, 37% from 3 on 8 attempts per game, which is bonkers, and 84% from the free throw line. Those teams were never good.
Yeah, sure.
In Miami, he's like been an incredible disappointment. So when he finally got to a good team, so I just can't. The lack of team success. I went with guys that have had team success. I feel like, there's one player here that I think is going to be awesome this year, particularly with the team that he's on. But I don't count that necessarily. But I've gone with guys that have had real team success. And there's one guy that I will get yelled at that I had higher on, but we'll talk about that when I get to him.
Okay. No, I think that's fair. And I've moved him around. I think some of these, my next guy, I wonder if this is who you end up taking. I think it was just Rozier has put up some really good seasons, so I struggled. I think I'm about to get into some guys that I think have filled their roles very, very successfully throughout their NBA careers. So we're talking a little bit about sixth men here, right? Yep. And Rozier, if he was a sixth man throughout the course of this peak of his career, certainly would have won sixth man of the year awards. Sure. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep. Because to be clear, the year he got 10th was in Boston when he averaged 11 points.
Yes.
He was starting every game in those years in Charlotte. But if he stays in somewhere and plays the role of these guys we're about to draft and averages 15 a game, who knows? The efficiency is probably something that I'm sure people are screaming at, either in the chat or listening after the fact. Career 42% from the field.
Yeah,
Doesn't get to the free throw
efficiency
line.
is always a real thing for him.
Yep.
And like even in that stretch, right, in Charlotte, just kind of looking through here, 2% below league average in terms of true shooting percentage, 1% above at league average, 11% below league average, and then 4% below league average. Even in that 5-year window where he was like really good, so was
Yep.
below average in terms of comparison to the league and true shooting percentage, but was tasked with having to create so much
Sure.
that it's really really hard. I went with Bobby Portis here. I'm going to go with Bobby Portis today.
Yep. He's one of my next two players.
Yeah. Bobby Portis is a guy that has played a massive role on a title team and has consistently produced is kind of the easiest way to put it. So he found his home in Milwaukee and has been awesome since finding that home. In Milwaukee, he's averaged 14 points, 8 rebounds, 1.4 assists, shooting 49, 40, 78. And again, was the second best player, or was the best bench player, I'm sorry, on a title team, and has finished 6th man of the year, top 3 twice now over the last 3 years. Ended up missing a decent amount of time this year, unfortunately. But a guy that I think probably could have been a starter in a few different places, but did start that first year in Milwaukee, but has found a real home as like an impact off the bench guy and a floor spacing big, right? Defensively, he drives me absolutely insane. I think he is awful defensively. It drives me bonkers, frankly, but he is a guy that has consistently put up numbers and has shown that he can be an impact guy on a winning team. That's what kind of lofted him ahead of Rozier for me. Rozier might be averaging like 24 and 4 over his 5-year ceiling, but Bobby Portis now has an 8-year window of averaging 13 and 8, shooting 48, 39, and 78. It's just like startling consistency and consistently being a really awesome dude who can help you win basketball games. The thing that goes underrated with him, I think, is the toughness.
Yeah.
Like, he is a dude that people don't like dealing with on the interior because he is physical and he is willing to like actually battle you, even if he doesn't read the game super well defensively and like is often out of position.
I was surprised. Like I actually thought, so a little bit of gamemanship. Like I thought Portis would be lower for you. So I thought I would be able to take him kind of whenever I wanted, because you have mentioned a few times, the defense and how it drives you crazy. So I actually thought Portis would be lower on your board. So Portis was 6 for you, or excuse me, 7.
Portis was 7 for me. Yeah.
Interesting. So I would have guessed he would be one, that maybe was, 6, 7 for me, or excuse me, 7, 8 for me, and would have been like 10, 11, maybe a little closer to Rozier for you. But you mentioned all of it, the 6th man of the year stuff, obviously an NBA champ, filled a role, just a really, really good player in his role. So.
Yep. Okay. You're up at 9.
So I'm going to go complete opposite of what I did with Rozier, and I'm going to take Tyus Jones here, who doesn't have the big time numbers, but does have a 6th place finish in 6th man of the year, 11th place finish in 6th man of the year, is 3rd in this class in career assists, even though when you look at the minutes played compared to a D'Lo, a Booker, a Rozier, other guys, he is still there. Now, obviously not the big time scorer, but he knocks down threes. And as we've mentioned now, we're very much in the point of the draft of either a very specific starter, role for a 5th starter, or a guy off the bench. And I think I like this with Tyus Jones here. Just he's a guy that comes in and he settles your offense down. He runs your offense. He can play off the ball. Obviously, there's defensive limitations, but I went ahead with Tyus Jones.
So this is fun because my next pick is going to be a good comparison point to Tyus.
Okay.
So I think Tyus is a really good pick here. He's definitely, I had Tyus at 12. I had him one spot below Rozier, but this group here from Portis to Jones on my list was a big tier. So
Okay.
like from 7 to 12, basically, what was all the names that I had. Tyus has proven, the ability to come in for John Morant and like play big minutes when he had to. The thing with Tyus is like he has not shown that he can be a starter.
Sure.
I would argue.
Yeah.
This year in Phoenix was not great. His on-offs were like catastrophic, if memory serves. Washington, I actually didn't think that year went super great with him as a starter, frankly. Was really, really good as a distributor. He's always a great distributor and passer and just makes rapid, quick decisions. But defensively, he's just not there for me. Like it is always an issue with him defensively. It needs like massive infrastructure behind him to be able to protect him, which is why it worked really, really well in Memphis and why it really didn't work this year in Phoenix.
Yeah, sure.
So my next pick is TJ McConnell. I'm going with the first undrafted guy off the board here.
Okay.
And I had him at number 8. So I had him a few spots ahead of Tyus. The reason that I had TJ ahead is that I prefer the mix of defense and ability to get downhill into the paint and just like consistently get paint touches over what Tyus does as a distributor ball handler. And yes, there are flaws, but like teams don't really guard Tyus from 3 either. Like they're pretty happy to like go under his screens and let him shoot in the same way that they do TJ. It's just that TJ like actually gets into the lane and like is kind of like Havoc incarnate and like makes shit happen. And I think that in the defense mix is why I think he's had an easier time being kind of an impact player on really good teams, even though he has consistently come off the bench in a way that Tyus hasn't necessarily come off the bench.
So I have to admit here, my research let me down. Whenever
TJ was undrafted this year as well.
Yeah, I know. I went and typed in 2015 undrafted free agents, and like it wasn't one that immediately, whatever I clicked on, wasn't. It gave me not him of all. Like I think Christian Wood was a name that came up, but yeah. TJ did not immediately come up. So yeah,
there are really only like 3 undrafted guys in that class that maybe. I guess you could say 4 realistically that like made a huge impact, I would argue.
Yeah, there's one other one that's interesting.
Yeah, and that I think will actually probably come up for me quite soon for what it's worth.
Yeah. So no, I love TJ. Obviously we all saw this past season, especially like he was on a huge stage in the playoffs and just the impact he has that goes beyond the numbers. And it will be interesting to see what kind of year he has this coming season in Indiana with Tyrese not there. So,
yeah, I mean, it seems like it's going to be Nembhard and Mathurin. Shout out Caitlin Cooper, who talked to Rick Carlisle. And Rick said that it's going to be Mathurin, it looks like, that starts. And, they're not going to go with the 2 guard alignment with TJ and Nembhard. So, it keeps TJ in the same role, which I would imagine will be super valuable.
Yeah, no, I think he's still he's going to have to drive a lot of offense, even if he's still coming, off the bench, which he was doing anyway. But, yeah, McConnell's really, really good.
Okay. You're up now at number, what is this? This is number 11?
2, 4, 6, 8, 10, number 11. So this is where again, I think, does anybody have a better resume than Montrezl Harrell right now that's left?
In terms of awards, no.
So that's where I'm struggling. 'Cause when you look at those 4 seasons and the awards, including a 6th man of the year, and then you have someone like Kevon Looney, who was a starter and a 3-time champ. Oubre has a 7th place and 6th man of the year. Royce O'Neal is the other player, that the undrafted free agent that's going to get drafted at some point here soon. That's where I struggle with. I'm going to take Harrell, even though I realize he doesn't fit like, would he even be in the top 20 if we were actually drafting for 2025?
For this coming year?
Yeah. Like
No, absolutely not.
yeah.
I mean, there aren't 20 guys left in the NBA from this class, are there? It's pretty close. Probably no. And
So-
for what it's worth, I had Trez at 19 even still.
Yeah. I just think at the end of the day, like, you have to respect the 4-year, like, not career, but 4 years of production, I guess, where he won a 6th man of the year, was 3rd, was 6th, was 9th, averaged 15 and 6.5 coming off the bench for those 4 years. I just think that, like, that does mean something, that type of production. So
it does. It does. He ended up getting hurt, was the reason that he's out of the NBA now. Really incredibly bad on defense is the issue. And to me, this is another player kind of at the vanguard of, like the difference between like modern basketball and like the past era of basketball on some level. Because if we were voting on his 6th man of the year stuff now,
sure,
I think he definitely would get votes in the year that he, won it. Like, he averaged 19 points and 7 rebounds that year. Like, he was incredibly valuable. But I guess he would have gotten votes even in that 2019 year. But I don't know, man. Like, would we have considered him or Lou Williams like the main guy off the bench, I guess, is kind of the thing. Because, obviously they were a real tandem was the whole ball game there for those two, right?
Yep.
They really played together more than anything. And I just don't know that, like, Lou Will won one of these in these years. And like, I think that Lou Will, like, now would have been very clearly considered like the driving force of those bench units, even so.
Yeah. No, it's just hard to kind of look at the resume and the production and not. It's tough because I understand some of these other players, like I said, I mentioned Royce O'Neal and what he does defensively, and then like being able to space the floor. So like, I understand that. It's just tough trying to hash out between those two things. So
yeah, I was never a big, like, honestly, like, I was probably like lower on Trez than the rest of the NBA was at the time. Like, I was never like a massive, I was a believer coming out of Louisville, actually, because like, I thought there was a chance he was going to shoot it coming out of Louisville. Like, he would actually take threes at Louisville and could consistently, stretch the floor a little bit that final year. He only made 24% from 3, I guess, but like, he would take a decent number of them if memory serves. It was like, it looked like there was a chance that he could do that, and that just like never really happened.
Yeah.
And yeah, to me, it's just it's hard for me with him, because like, I think he is like so catastrophic on defense that it like, he has no chance to protect the rim, really. He has, like, I know that like the blocks numbers are not like truly terrible, but he's just so small, and like, I didn't think the instincts were very good on defense. So like, he was just not to me, like, it's just not a guy like I want on my team, honestly. But yeah, I get the pick here. I am going Royce O'Neal next. So that was my number 9 guy.
Yep.
Just a awesome starting level 3-and-D guy for many years. And, again, that 4-year window between the 3 final years in Utah and then the year in Brooklyn, where they traded a late first rounder to get him to play with the KD teams. Just a really useful defensive player. Averaged 7 points and 6 rebounds and 3 assists. I think the passing has always kind of gone underrated. He played as like a pseudo like point wing at Baylor sometimes when he was there. And then defensively was where he really made his impact. Like, I thought there was a year there where he really had a shot at all defense. It was either 2018 or 2019. I can't remember which one. It was one of the two. And I just I felt like he probably was closer than what people think to making an all defense team. Like he was really, along with Gobert, like the guy that was driving positive defense for those Utah teams. Maybe it was 2020. I can't remember which year, but he was like really, really good on that end, would take all the tough assignments, and was like the perfect fifth starter for that group. And again, like we look at starts, right? I would imagine that his 319 starts are very high. I think that you have the list, I'm sure, but
I just have the games played, but
yeah,
I don't have the starts. But like, yeah, I'll look at it and compare it to against some of the guys we're talking about now.
yeah. I mean, it's very high, I would imagine. Like Montrez started 36 games in his career. Literally, Powell, or I'm sorry, not Powell. Royce O'Neal started 10 times that, almost 9 times that, I guess.
Yeah.
So it's just crazy that Royce has been able to kind of do that and bring that kind of value.
What did you say? 300? Yeah, like Tyus Jones has 100 less starts than Royce. I mean, obviously different players, but just for guys that have been taken recently. So
yeah. So I ended up with Royce at 9. You are up at number, what is this? This is
2, 4, 6, 8, 13. 13. Yeah. So I'm really struggling with Kevon Looney, but I'm not going to go Kevon Looney, I guess. I'm going to go with my Kansas Jayhawk, Kelly Oubre Jr. here.
Okay.
At this spot. Again, I feel like maybe I've leaned into just like games played, minutes played, production, stuff like that, more than some other things. Because I'd be interested. Like, there's a couple decent defenders left here that I wonder if you would have taken instead. But at the end of the day, this is a guy that has a 7th place in 6th man of the year. He's 7th on this list in points in his career. He's 7th in rebounds. I think the thing with Oubre is, like, obviously there's some defensive lapses for sure. The lack,
but he's not like terrible on defense.
No,
either.
he has,
like, he's really good at getting through screens. Like,
he can be disruptive as well.
As well,
I think he can be disruptive. And while the 3-point shooting, it like just isn't as good as what you would want it, like for his career across the board, he has had multiple years of double-digit scoring averages. So yeah, I think at this point,
forget multiple years, Bryce. Like from 2018-19 through this past season, Kelly Oubre has averaged 16 points per game.
Oh, there you go.
Point blank. So it's a 7-year window now where he has averaged 16 points per game. That's like a huge number to me.
Yeah. So I think at this point, this makes sense for him.
Yeah. I ended up with Rozier a spot or 2 spots higher than him. Looking at it, I think you're probably right to take Oubre here.
Okay.
I think I probably should have had Kelly Oubre a little bit higher. I get that, like, the experience.
How many people
like
do you have left on your board? How many people are ahead of him still? Like originally on your original board?
Yeah, originally I have 2 still remaining.
Okay.
But I think I was probably wrong about that, honestly, especially with the one guy. And I probably would have taken Kelly over Tyus, and I think over Rozier maybe.
Okay.
It's close. Yeah. I think I was too low on Oubre looking back at this, because he was on like a lot of like fairly bad teams. And the thing that like I really noticed with Kelly is that teams tend to get like way better when he leaves. So, Phoenix in 2020, right? Like he leaves them. Then the next year they go on to win 51 games and make the finals, right? Golden State, he's there in 2021, leaves there. They go on to make the finals the next year. It's tricky. He's a tricky one because I think that he plays a game that is very to himself.
Yeah.
Like it's on his own terms. A lot of guys in this class like play games on their own terms.
Sure.
It feels like to me. And those tend not to be my favorite players. And I tend to artificially probably deflate them a little bit.
Sure.
A little bit more than I should, honestly. And Kelly's probably one of those guys. Kelly is probably so talented that he should be higher than where I had him originally, which was 14.
Yeah.
So not that far off of where you actually took him here at 13.
Yep.
Okay. I am going to take Kevon Looney here.
Okay.
Kevon Looney has just been an impact player for an incredibly long time now. I would guarantee you that if you ask Golden State, who was a bigger impact player on that 2021 team, they would say Kevon Looney. Kevon Looney played 61 games, started 34 of them, and had really started to come into his own that year particularly, and then started each of the next 2 years for Golden State. Started 80 games in their title year in 2022. In 2023, they end up winning 44 games and kind of, scrape into the playoffs, beat the Kings in the first round, end up losing to the Lakers in the second round. He was a starter on that team as well. That's really like the 2-year window where he was at his best. Probably could include that 2021 year and then maybe like a bit of the 2024 year, but it started to kind of go downhill a little bit in 2024 where he became more of a, 15 minute per game bench player. But for a 3-year stretch, like, Looney was like a genuine impact player on a team that won a title in that 3-year stretch. So the defensive versatility, the ability to play out high with the ball, the passing ability, the playmaking. You don't remember Kevon Looney at all in college, I assume, right?
No, so this is what's like, I mean, he is one player, like I'm familiar with his game going back because like the Warriors were a team that I really watched because Steph was so much fun. But then I've like heard people talk about him pre-Warriors and it's like, oh, really? Like that was his game? Like
no, he was like a full scale like point forward. He was not
it's crazy.
He was not a big. He was like he was from Milwaukee and then decided to go to UCLA. He was like a full scale, like point forward, bringing the ball up the court, like playing in transition. He didn't have enough half court game. That's ultimately why I was a little bit lower on him, than some people were, but still ended up higher on him because I really liked the defense coming out. Like he was very flexible on defense. He was very, versatile, I thought, at UCLA in terms of what he could do. But yeah, I am a fan of Kevon Looney, and he was a really, really fun player.
Yeah, no, he was. It's funny, like when you look at the stats, it just really is like it just doesn't show it at all, right? Like if you didn't watch it, you have no idea kind of the impact because the stats are like the counting stats are worse than what I thought they were even. You know what I mean? And so it's really interesting with Kevon.
Yeah, he absolutely was a huge, winning player. He was a player that helped you win basketball games. Frankly, for even off the bench though, like he played real minutes on like the 2018 team. You know what I mean? Like that team that swept the Cavs, like he was playing substantial minutes and then played substantial minutes on the team that lost to the Raptors in the finals, right? Like this is a dude that was a starter. And he's won 2 titles, like playing real minutes in the playoffs. Like 2018, he played 18 minutes a game in the playoffs. 2022, he played 20 minutes per game in the playoffs. That finals run in 2019, 21 minutes per game in the playoffs. So Kevon is a real impact winning player to me that, I think deserves lottery recognition.
Yeah.
You're up at number 15 though.
Oh, this gets fun. Now, like I feel like a lot of these players have, whenever you just look at things, a lot of similarities, like trying to hash out games played. We have an NBA champion still on our list here that's available, to be drafted. So I've kind of been hashing between Larry Nance Jr. and Trey Lyles. Are those guys high on your list here left?
Mm-hmm.
So I've been trying to hash out between those two guys and who I think, because like Lyles is like sneaky just in terms of the amount of games and stuff that he has played is really high on this class in general. He's 6th in this class just in overall games played.
It's kind of crazy.
It truly is, right? And so, like, I'm trying to think, like, is Nance Jr., like, is there a better peak from Nance Jr.? Obviously more athletic. I just kind of have a soft spot for Trey Lyles, Sam, because Pistons fans hated him. And I actually just always thought he was better than what they thought. And then now he's kind of had a chance to prove that a little bit. I'll go Lyles just because I like Trey Lyles. So Trey Lyles here for me.
Yeah, so I think they actually are the next two guys on my board. Maybe no, I have one guy in between, but yeah. So Lyles is a good player. I'll give you the floor on Lyles. I mean, obviously, just like a stretch big,
Yeah,
who could knock down shots from distance. I've never loved the defense, is kind of why, but
Sure.
he's a good rebounder. Like, consistently gets in the mix there. He's kind of always been like a little bit too far in between positions for me.
that
But
Yeah.
like a useful guy, like definitely a rotation player.
Yeah, I think that's
sure.
where I ended up. Like, I wasn't familiar with his game a whole lot before he came to Detroit that year. And then it's like they were having to moonlight him at center a little bit. And it's like, okay, well, like he steps up to the plate. I don't think a guy that holds on to the ball, offers a little bit of rebounding, definitely not a guy you're relying on defensively, not doing a lot of playmaking. I just think like we're kind of getting to the point with these guys where like it's a very specific role or whatever. And again, like when you just look at totals, him playing that many games in his career, I do think kind of speaks for itself. Like just that he's valued in some way and that he's available in some way, right?
Yeah.
Like whenever you look at, I mean, he's played 650 games. Larry Nance Jr. has played 546.
Well, and Larry's never played more than 65 in a year, so
Yeah.
67 it looks like is the peak.
Yeah, Lyles has more career points than Larry Nance Jr. So I'm not trying to shit on Larry Nance Jr. Just saying, like that's, at this point you kind of look for little tiebreakers or whatever, and so I'll go Trey Lyles.
So I'm taking Larry Nance Jr.
Love it.
I had Larry Nance Jr. at number 11.
Okay.
I had Larry Nance Jr. like 8 spots higher than Harrell. I had him way higher than like all these non-defense bigs. I had him four spots higher than Lyles, it looks like. I love Larry Nance Jr. has been one of my favorite players in the NBA for a while.
Yeah.
Just one of those dudes that I always have a soft spot for because he does everything. Awesome rotation player, role player. And I think that my favorite stat of Larry Nance's is there is, I believe, an 8-year stretch from, and I don't know if he extended it this year because he's played in the NBA now for 10 years, obviously, but I believe it's from his 2016-17 year with the Lakers all the way through the 2023-24 year with the Pelicans, where when Larry Nance was on the court, his team played better. Like the on-off numbers were better, and like most years they were better by like way more than what is normal. The problem with Larry is that like he's not always consistently on the court, right? Like he played 24 games this year with Atlanta. By the way, I will note those 24 games were glorious. He was awesome in those games. Like he had this year 9 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 52, 45, 70. And again, like the thing with Larry is plays great versatile defense, like can go out and play and switch against guys because he's super like flexible and mobile athletically. He has great like hip flexibility and everything to be able to switch defensively. He can play like at the level defensively, and then he's fast enough to go and recover. Obviously a great leaper. Has never been like a great primary rim protector, but you can play him at the 5 and he will at times go and block shots. Not like a regular part of his game by any stretch of the imagination. I thought that like his best years were probably the years, I don't know, the years in Cleveland were pretty good. I thought where like he was like starting half the time, like 2019 and 2020. I thought the Pelicans year, what was it? It was 2023. I feel like, is that the year where Zion was quite good?
Pelicans.
Remember.
So he had, so he was there for half a year. So 22, 23 or 23, 24.
Yeah. It was either 23 or 24. I think it was 23 was the year where like he and like it was like really, really fun watching him. Just like the flexibility, the ability to play in ball screens, the ability to play in handoffs, the passing, the playmaking. Like it's just everything I look for in a player. I think that dude's going to be fucking awesome this year. I'm just like kind of calling that out now. I mean, what did we talk about that the Cavs needed all year? We talked about them trading for Larry Nance last year, and they get him, basically for free now as a free agent. I mean, he is to me the absolute perfect third big to play with Jared Allen and Evan Mobley, because he can play with both of them together at the 4, or like he can play the 5 and let Evan like roam as a 4. Like it's a perfect fit to me. Or he can play by himself with Dean Wade at the 4. Like he is going to have a monster year, and I'm just like calling it now. If they are good, people are going to recognize how good Larry Nance is this year.
Yep. No, I agree. I love it there. That, like you said, we've been calling that out for a while. I think that was a great offseason addition for him or for them.
Like if he had been on those, like he's a very Warriors-y player to me in the same way that Looney was, right? Like if he'd been on those teams, he'd have been probably better than Kevon Looney. It's just that Kevon Looney like did it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like you have to respect the fact that Kevon did it. But I think that's what you're looking at this year. Like I think Larry plays like 15 minutes a game and is just like a monster for the Cavs in that 15-minute per game role. I'm, unconscionably high on Larry Nance though. He's like one of my favorite players to watch among those like bench players.
Yeah.
Okay. You're up at number 17.
I'm going to take another former Piston in DeLon Wright. Not great offensively throughout his career, not a high volume 3-point shooter, even though their percentage is decent. But a guy that can run the show for you a little bit of creation, all of that. And then a guy that's a real defender and can cause some disruption, play in passing lane, have some length. And, so for me, as we get into this, there's a few different guys I considered here. But, I like DeLon Wright's game. I like the defense. And, again, whenever you just look like a guy that's played a lot of games, whenever you look at this class, played a lot of minutes, whenever you look at this class, so I think this is probably the right range for him.
Right range. I think I actually had him at 18 for what it's worth. So you take him at 17, totally reasonable pick. I really like DeLon at Utah. It's funny, like, I think we look at DeLon as like the old head now, kind of, because he came out of Utah like he was freaking old. He was like 23 and I think turned 24 as a rookie, even if memory serves. Just a guy who can come in and defend and can run your show a little bit. The problem was the shooting, like never quite got to where I wanted it to. But I mean, man, he was dynamic at Utah. Like that dude could really, really run the show. For those really, really fun Utah teams. He was like a 15-5-5 guy, and man, he was really dynamic, I thought.
Yep.
Okay. Number 18 is my last guy in the top 15 for what it's worth. I'm going Josh Richardson.
Okay.
Josh Richardson had a 7-year run where he averaged 12 points, shot 43, 36, 85, started 314 games. So basically like 40-ish games a year, 45 games a year, and played really good defense. Was like a really, really solid high-level defender for quite a few years. Actually just signed overseas as well to continue his playing career. He's going to be playing EuroLeague next year. I guess you could even say, like, I forgot that he played that like little, year in Miami prior to this one. You could even say it's an 8-year stretch where he was 500 games of 12 points per game, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 43, 36, 86. So, that's a really, really strong track record as a role player. It was never more than like the 5th guy out there on offense. And I would say was like never really all that close to making an all defense team either. But as a guy who could come in and, really, really, help out and, play the right role for a team. It's funny looking back in 2018, maybe I'm just like forgetting this somehow. He was 16th in all defense that year, which isn't too bad. Yeah, I'm surprised he was actually that high. But yeah, got 22 votes for all defense that year. Yeah, maybe he peaked a little bit higher on defense than what I thought, but he was just a guy that, kind of did his job and was consistent in doing his job. This is a guy that, like, he was in that Kelly Oubre zone where, like, Kelly was probably more talented. I think there's a case that Josh probably impacted winning a little bit more than Kelly, even though Kelly's numbers. Actually, I think there's, like, definitely a case. I probably should have had Josh at 14 even looking at this. But, yeah, Richardson, was a really good player for a really long time.
Yeah, so he was one, I will be honest, like there was a few guys, like Harrell was another one where like I just wasn't familiar enough. I think Josh maybe more than anybody, like how good and how impactful was the play. Because like I know some of this was a little bit more recent, but like it looks like his peak years were right before I got involved. And so, like, I'm not sure I fully respect, like, Josh Richardson's game and career and what he's done. You know what I mean? Like, I knew that he's on my list for what it's worth. And if you wouldn't have taken him, I would have. But I knew there was a potential I was off on him, like, just not being fully familiar with his career and what he accomplished and did. So,
yeah, I agree. You're up at 19.
So I want to take Willie Hernan-Gomez just for his role in the movie Hustle because he was awesome in that movie and I really like that movie. But
it's the other Hernan-Gomez.
No, it's not.
It's Wancho, isn't it?
I swear I looked it up.
I thought it was Wancho. That's in because Willie's the big.
So is it the right draft class at least?
Is it the right draft class? Yeah, Wancho's in 2016.
Oh, shit. I looked it up even.
My goodness.
Made a cameo. Well, never mind. So how did I get Willie? Oh,
I mean, they're brothers. It's very easy.
No. I know. I thought it had Willie. So Wancho was the one in the movie. So
yeah.
Google screwed me again. It's because he made It's because he made a cameo, so it showed up that he was in it.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's true.
Well, that's stupid.
We got to get the Hernan-Gomez brothers on a team in Europe here at some point. We got to, they play for different teams. One plays for Barcelona, the other one plays for Pana. Wancho plays for Pana. So we got to get them on the same team at some point.
All right. So anyway, I'm going to take the NBA champ that's left on the board. And I'm going to take Pat Connaughton here. So, listen, like, again, not a guy that like the numbers just blow you away, but when you look at like career games played and minutes played and stuff like this in the class, like relative to the class, he's, top 15 in a lot of those things. And then at the end of the day, he played a role on an NBA championship. He played 24 minutes a game in the 23 games in that playoffs. Career 37% from three. He shot 39% from three on 4 attempts in that run. I just think with what's left here, I'm going to take the guy that played a role on a title, not contender, a title team.
Yeah. No, I think it's the right pick. Look, there are only 2 guys left, really, maybe 3.
Who do you have? Like, are you even kicking around?
Yeah, so it's Rashawn Holmes, Christian Wood, and Campaign.
Those are the exact same. Like even though we had some real discrepancies in terms of where we ended up with all of the exact same names.
Yeah, there are 22, I would say, like rotation players in this class, which is about average in terms of a draft class. Like it'll be somewhere between like 18 and 25, depending on the class. The problem with this class is that we have like 66% of the all-stars that are normal, right? We have, typically there's 5.5. This class has 4 and 2 of them are one-time all-stars.
Yep.
And then really once you get to 7, typically there's more than 6 starters in a class. And like, look, I guess you could say that like Josh Richardson and Royce O'Neal, like those guys were starters, but like borderline, right? Somewhere between bench and starter. Same with Portis. Like Portis was like somewhere between bench and starter, right? It's that group from like 7 to 14, I would argue, that like really lets this class down.
Yeah.
Maybe even like 3 to 14 really is what lets this class down comparatively.
Yeah.
Like the funny thing is, so like Locked On Law says like you're just going to disrespect Willie Cauley-Stein like that. Yes, I realize you'd have to get to 100. You'd have to have 100 picks to get to him.
No, we wouldn't.
No,
he's
be a
in
the top 30.
He's a first round pick still.
He's like, it's like not even a question.
Yeah,
like that's the thing. Like he is 100%
so
in the top 30.
Willie Cauley-Stein is 22nd in games played in this class. Willie Cauley-Stein is 20th in minutes played in this class. Willie Cauley-Stein is 18th in points in this class and 13th in rebounds. Like even win shares, Willie Cauley-Stein is 18th. Willie Cauley-Stein is definitely in the top 30 if we played it out.
Yeah, like made the all-rookie team. His first 4 years, he averaged 10 and 6 in like nearly 2 assists per game, shot 53% from the field, like was an athletic dude, like was a serious athlete. And then it just like kind of went off the rails there. And he's been out of the league for 3 years, but man, like it's like not even a question.
From Western Kansas, for what it's worth, like legitimately from a small town in Western Kansas before he ended up transferring. Here's the other thing, like not to like continue to shit on D'Angelo Russell. Well, would you have taken Turner over Porzingis if you would have had the odd picks?
No, I would have taken KP.
Okay. But there were guys taken above even one of those all-stars, right? Like we both would have taken Miles Turner over. We didn't even have D'Lo in the same tier as Miles Turner. So like one of those all-stars wasn't even in our top 4. So
yeah.
And then obviously I took Powell over him. You wouldn't have, but the fact that we even had a conversation about it is like, it just speaks. I would agree with you, Sam. I mean, maybe we would be proven wrong here, but not having a third guy and a fourth guy seems less than ideal. So,
do you know what the crazy thing is? Like, so we talked about Jahlil Okafor like at the top, right?
Yeah.
Like Willie Cauley-Stein's been out of the NBA for 3 years, right? Mm-hmm. Jahlil Okafor played for a team that made the finals this year. Like he played a game for the Pacers this year. He came like this close to getting a ring. Jahlil Okafor this year, like that is a thing that happened. Bryce,
Sam, I just clicked on his b-ball reference page, and it's like that is something. That's crazy.
Was out of the NBA for 4 years almost. Shout out Jahlil Okafor for fucking fighting and battling for his career first and foremost. Like the fact that he got back is incredible and amazing. Like that is. And to get back for it and almost get a ring is remarkable and incredible. I'm really stonewalling here before having to make this final pick, by the way.
Just to give you a little more time.
What's happening.
Fun fact, Jahlil Okafor exactly 30th in this class in NBA games played. Behind the likes of Jerian Grant, Emmanuel Mudiay, Rondé Hollis Jefferson, my guy, Willie Hernan Gomez, who is not the Hernan Gomez in the movie, The Hustle, not The Hustle.
Look, I'm going to go Holmes.
Okay. For what it's worth, that's who I had.
Yeah. I'm going to take the 7 years of like real production from Holmes over the 4 years from Christian Wood. That's really it. Rashawn Holmes like had a really nice run there with the Kings, particularly where he was like a high level starter playing with De'Aaron Fox and like their ability to play in that ball screen. And like, it was like him and Halliburton and Fox, and they would find Holmes in the short roll consistently and he'd make that little push shot. It was really, really fun. I mean, look, had defensive deficiencies for sure, But yeah, a guy that, at least stuck around for the entirety of the 10 years that he was, you know, after he was drafted. I mean, Christian Wood, you know, played, I mean, goodness, like did not play at all last year. And then the first 3 years that he was in the league, no, first 4 years that he was in the league, I'm sorry, played, I believe, a total of 51 games the first 4 years he was in the league. So let's go on ahead and go with Rashawn Holmes here.
I have where did I see? Did Chetty?
Rashawn Holmes played 51 games as a rookie. Chetty Osman is like the next guy.
Okay, that's what I say. Did just like not as many years, but he played like real games. Started a total of almost 200 games in his career, and like had this would be a 5-year stretch with Cleveland where he averaged 11, 3, and 2, averaging 26 minutes a night, shooting 35% from 3. It's like, there's only two other
Bryce. The years that he was there though were
it was
catastrophic.
It was truly more of a question than like a push. You know what I mean? So
totally. Like Chetty is literally for me 23.
Okay.
So like I'm there. Like you're 100% right to bring him up at least as like a guy to talk about. But yeah, the production came because those teams won like 19, 20 games.
Sure.
Basically. The last year they were okay, if memory serves. Like the 2023 year, they had started to turn it around under JB, and he averaged like 8 points a game or so, like something like that off the bench. It's just like the defense he was actually pretty okay defensively early on there, but like was really, really bad. I thought by the end of it, like couldn't really move.
Yeah. And then Campaign's the other one. I should also clarify that all of the numbers I've given throughout the podcast, like they don't have TJ, Royce, Christian. Like B-Ball Reference only uses the 60 selection. So those, like whenever I say Jalil was 30th in the class in games played, it's technically a little bit lower because TJ, Royce, and Christian wouldn't have more, but those guys aren't in the little, aren't in the sheet. So anyway, just wanted to clarify in case people like really looked into it.
How many players from this class do you think are still in, or like have played a full 10 seasons worth of NBA games?
Again, I looked this up. So it's around 20-ish to 25.
There's 18.
Okay.
That have played like a full 10 years and like been under NBA contract for 10 years in the NBA.
Yeah.
It's Towns, Russell, Turner, Lyles, Booker. I'm going in order of draft. Payne, Oubre, Rozier, Wright, Portis, Tyus Jones, Larry Nance, Kevon Looney, Rashawn Holmes, Josh Richardson, Pat Connaughton, Norm Powell, and then Porzingis as well. Porzingis missed the year there, but because of the injury, but was under contract and was like very clearly, that was like right after his All-Star year. So like significant player. Yeah, like Winslow played 8 years, Kaminsky played 8 years, Harrell 8 years, Okafor 7 years, Cauley Stein 7 years, Chetty 7 years. Hazonia is the guy like we probably haven't talked a lot about. Mario Hazonia is like a very good player overseas, and frankly is good enough to be in the NBA right now. I will say that with my chest and like pretty strongly believe that. Whether or not people, will buy that or not, probably mixed bag or whatever. But, like he played, basically every game last year for Real and averaged 15 and 5 and shot like 45, 35 and 83. Like he is, if not the best player, certainly one of the best players on one of the best teams outside of the NBA right now. So I think undeniably like a guy that realistically could and should be in the NBA, just does not enjoy the NBA. He's been like very clear about that, like did not enjoy the lifestyle, did not enjoy the style of play that is over here. But if Mario Hezonja wanted to be in the NBA, like a team would sign him right now. I feel quite confident of that.
So I was looking up 16 players in this draft that were drafted didn't play a single game in the NBA. At some point this offseason,
I noted that too.
Sam, we're going to do the 2020 draft, right? You said that earlier. You want to guess how many players in the 2020 draft, which happened 5 years later?
I would. So there's important context here that I'll give, but I would guess it's like 1
2
or something.
2.
Yeah. The important context there is that the 2015 draft was pre two-way contracts. So
great
a lot
point.
of these guys that are in 2020 like got two-way contracts, which allowed them to stick and be in the NBA. The 2015 guys like did not have that background, like have that like fallback option if they were drafted, right? So like it was okay, we're either stashing a local player or we're stashing Satnam Singh, right? Or we're stashing Danny Diaz from Spain, who like Bryce, like, do I remember Danny Diaz? Like, honestly, I'm like not sure that I do.
So for like, what it's the very
I'm not
next,
sure that like he's played for the Spanish like senior national team.
Just to give that's a great context. The very next year, so the 2016 draft, before I believe two ways were still implemented, only 5 guys in that class didn't play a single game. But yes, like I was going to ask you about some of these names. Like, what? Like, how many of these dudes are you like?
I mean, to some extent, all of them, but like, you know, not like wildly. So like, you know, Nikola Radosevich, right? Like, if I remember correctly, like has basically not played for the Serbian national team, right? Like it never really developed into that kind of player. Had a really big, and this is insane that I think I remember this. He was playing for Sevilla, I think with Porzingis at the time, and scouts had just like seen him a decent amount because they were over there like watching Porzingis, and he had like a really good finish to the year with Sevilla's team, and I think he was auto eligible if memory serves me. If not auto eligible, he was like a late decision to like stay in or something. And it was just like no shot. This guy's an NBA player. You know what I mean? But again, like when you don't have two-way contracts to fit local, you know, American players onto, a lot of the times, like those guys really wanted to go undrafted to get to pick their spots. And, you know, you had to take guys like Nikola Radosevich and Luka Mitrovic, and like Luka Mitrovic, I think has played like a decent amount for the Serbian national team, if memory serves. But like not a guy that was ever going to play in the NBA, really. The guy that I liked as a stash in this class, there are 2 guys. I liked Marcus Ericsson because he was like a sniper, like a real, like this guy could like shoot the shit out of the ball. It's Bryce, it is so terrifying that I remember this stuff.
Yeah.
Like Marcus Ericsson could like shoot the ever loving shit out of the ball. And like, I kind of liked him a decent amount as an interesting player to take a look at, but he had knee injuries, if memory serves. And then the other one was Gudaitis. He was like this undersized athletic big dude from Lithuania who could really like, he tried to like throw down on dudes all the time.
Sam. Marcus Eric like can really shoot it.
Oh no, like total sniper.
Sam, 49% in 27-18 on 5.5 attempts, 43% on 5, 48% on 5.7, 45%.
My brain is broken, Bryce.
Hold on. Here's the other thing. How did you watch film on these guys back then? Because like what we use now was existed. Oh, did it? Okay. Okay. Yeah. Shows what I know. Good.
Yeah, you can go back and watch. I mean,
there's still it's still
while we're talking.
I'm binging Marcus Ericsson film tomorrow. Love it. Let's go.
Yeah, like I would imagine that Marcus Ericsson tape is like from his pre-draft year in 2015 is on Synergy.
Synergy. Got you.
Yeah. I want to say why do I think he might have been hurt that year? In like the Hawks, was it the Hawks that took him? Is that right?
That's what it says here. I don't know if this always accounts for trades or not.
Yeah, I think the Hawks took him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was something like that. But Gudaitis' tape is the one that's like really fun. Like he would absolutely just throw down on dudes in Europe. Like it was like he was a real leaper. It drove me crazy. I think Fran in the draft, Bryce, again, my brain is so broken. Fran in the draft like might have said like, oh, he's not a great athlete, like, you know, he's 6'9", undersized and this stuff. And I was like, no, he's definitely an athlete. Like, what are we talking about here? It's like what he is. It's like the one thing that he does. Yeah. The crazy one was Valet at 39. That was one that like totally came out of nowhere. I just had not scouted South America before. He was playing in Argentina and has had like a pretty solid national team career for Argentina. I wasn't aware of him really much at all. Like I knew who he was, but like I didn't have that like backing to know that at that point. I'm trying to think of anybody else that like randomly, you know, Agravanis, I don't remember him at all. Yeah. Like, I mean, Tyler Harvey, that's a NBL legend, Tyler Harvey.
Yes. So as I said, that was 51. A name that like stood like that I was familiar with when I looked. Like some of the RJ Hunter was a name that I was familiar with. Trying to think about like of guys that, you know, didn't end up NBA dudes.
The other Marcus Thornton from William and Mary is here. Yeah. Trying to think any other like really, really good ones.
Sir Dominic Pointer is the best name that we did not.
Yeah, he went to St. John's. He was like a defense guy.
Okay.
Like super athlete defense. A few of these guys are in China now, I think. Like Jordan Mickey's in China. You know, Chris McCullough is playing in Asia. Chris McCullough was like 6'9", like super skinny, like probably would not have been. I don't know. I say that, and you know, people keep giving John Butler chances, but like, you know, Chris McCullough, you know, was a guy at Syracuse that people had some enthusiasm about, despite the fact that he had a knee injury that ended his season and averaged like 9 points per game. That was one that was always a little bit confusing to me, but you know, what can you do? All right.
Sorry, I'm on YouTube watching Arturis highlights, and then one of the comments, this is from 8 years ago. This guy is physical as shit. Him and Draymond Green will be must-watch TV.
Just dude, Gudaitis just like that dude threw down on people, man. Like he had no fear. He would go up and just try and like yam all over you.
So he's not like getting crazy high, but he just like tries to dunk everything.
Correct. It's the best. This is the best. The other guy, we should mention Nikola Milutinov as well. Draft and stash for the Spurs in the first round.
I was going to ask what the situation with that was, because like he's the one first rounder of like the names we're talking about.
One of those guys that like so quickly established himself as a EuroLeague player, is like a real high level EuroLeague player. Like he was playing for Partizan pre-draft and then, you know, stashed, I think, with like Olympiacos right after the draft, and was like awesome. Like was a very high level like starter in Europe for a long time. And like, you know, memory serves, like still plays for, you know, now plays for Olympiacos again. He went to, where did he go? He didn't go back to Partizan. He went somewhere else in EuroLeague for a minute. Maybe Russia, one of the other EuroLeague teams. And then he came back to Olympiacos and like continues to play at a high level. Awesome defender, really good impact, you know, simple big who can, you know, run dribble handoffs and can protect the rim and can, you know, just keep it simple big man. Like I think he started games with Jokic for the Serbian national team, if memory serves.
Nice.
So yeah, really like, a guy that again probably should have been in the NBA, but just decided he liked staying in Europe better, and like made crazy money for a decade in Europe. Like he was making over $1 million probably from 2016 onward in Europe, I would guess.
Sorry, I'm fascinated by these highlights.
Are you still on Gooditis, or have you moved on?
No. It's 11 and a half minutes from his 2016, 2017 season.
Dude, some of the most fun tape.
Like right now, he's like just working dudes in the mid post with like quick baseline spins. Now he just dribbles all the way across. Now he spins and he's reverse layup. This is fun. I love this.
Yeah, it was like a real Gooditis was
How
like
big
a fun,
was he?
It's like 6'9", 6'10".
Okay,
like not big. Yeah, it just like was never really big enough.
Yeah.
Was the thing.
Yeah, because he's dunking on people and athletic and stuff. Like his half court offensive game looks like it's like back to the basket, post up, center-y type stuff, right?
Yeah, I love that we're on Gooditis and like barely mentioned like Rashad Vaughn and Jaren Grant and Justin Anderson. I was a Justin Anderson guy for a while, just didn't work out, unfortunately. Yeah. Justin Anderson had a nice career for a minute there overseas.
We're to the powerful dunks portion of the highlight reel.
Yeah, pretty fun. Okay, Bryce, tell the people where they can find your work. Tell the people what's going on.
Yeah, at Motor City Hoops on Twitter, on Blue Sky, Motor City Hoops Substack. If you're interested, like I did some video breakdowns last week on Asar, Jalen Duren, Cade Cunningham. So even if you're not a Pistons fan, just a general NBA fan, I looked at where they ended last season and what to kind of look for this upcoming season. It's not just like, oh, Cade Cunningham's awesome. I kind of dove into where Cade needs to continue to grow to be consistent. So check that out. It's for free over there. You don't even have to subscribe to check it out. Pistons Pulse podcast, I mentioned at the top, got some fun episodes coming up. I would recommend checking out the one where me and my old coach get together, and also I have a Western Conference preview coming. There's an Eastern Conference preview already there. Otherwise, Game Theory podcast right here with the Sam Vecenie.
Go to The Athletic. I will have a redraft at some point this week. I'm writing it tomorrow on the 2024 NBA draft. We're going to talk through the most recent draft class and like where I kind of stand on those guys right now. I'm very excited for where I have Reed Shepherd to just make people angry because, Reed continues to be an interesting upside swing for me, but like, what can you do? He didn't do it this year. So it's all projection for me at this point. Go to my letterbox. I have written so many words on movies while I was sick. Like I just literally, so looking through the movies I watched on Letterboxd, we are 10 days in, really 9 days in, because I haven't watched anything yet today, Bryce. We're 9 days in to August. How many movies do you think I've watched in August?
Oh God. 9 days. If it's more than 18, that's unreal.
It's 19.
Sam Vecenie.
Bryce, I'm sick. There were like days where I was watching like 4 movies a day just because like I couldn't get off the couch. And like I couldn't actually like look at a book and like read, like I didn't have the focus to read a book, right? But yeah, man, it got to see Weapons over the weekend. That was great. Andrew and I will talk about Weapons on the show at some point. Weapons was delightful.
I think I've watched some movies recently, but I had to text Randy to see what they are, and she's not texting me back because I just I forget stuff.
We'll talk about it on the Thursday show. It's all good.
We started a series though. Oh, The Queen's Gambit. We've started that.
Yeah, it's fun. That was good.
Because when I was on family vacation, I taught like my in-laws how to play chess or some of them. And so then Randy was like, hey, we should watch this. So we're like 3 or 4 episodes in. Very good. I like it.
Yeah. Trying to think anything new that I've watched. It's a lot of outside of Weapons, which is like fucking awesome. Weapons is like my second favorite movie of the year so far. And again, Bryce and I will talk, or Andrew and I will talk about that at a later date on the show. It's been a lot of like solid movies. We watched K-pop Demon Hunters last night on Netflix. It is a blast, Bryce. Like it was so good. the music was like amazing. Like the fact that they wrote like real pop songs for that movie and that they ended up like, I think it's right now that 6 songs from that movie are in the top 30 on the Billboard charts. It's hysterical that they figured out a way to write that many good songs for a single movie. Watch Together, watch Dangerous Animals, both like solid horror movies, but a lot of it's been like older stuff that I've been watching. I had a stack of 36 Blu-rays on my desk at some point. I think I'm down to 14 now finally. So like we're whittling down since the middle of July.
Machine. I love it.
That's right. We're rolling through. Okay. Go subscribe to the channel on YouTube. Go subscribe to the channel over on your podcasting platform, Spotify, Apple, whatever you listen to. We will be back later this week on Thursday. I'm also going on vacation in 2 weeks or so. So Bryce and I will be pre-recording some episodes that you guys will have for that time. There won't be too much of a break. There might be like a 6-day break or something where we're not on, but every week we'll at least have one episode. I know that just depends on like the ads and kind of things like that. But we should have things going up all the time for you guys, which should be good. But that's where we're at. Until next time, we'll talk soon.